Debate around the voice has raged on today, and now there's conversations around what to teach about the voice in our schools. Now, this should set some alarm bells off, I would have thought. Victoria's going to back the Indigenous voice being promoted in schools as part of the state's journey to treaty, surprise, surprise, as schools across the nation are now going to instruct students to memorise, think of that word, memorise, the Uluru Statement from the Heart. Now, I looked up the Uluru Statement from the Heart today, and if any child in any school can memorise this, I'll absolutely go he. It could not be done. Joining me now is Senior Research Fellow at the Australian Catholic University, Dr. Kevin Donnelly, and Indigenous leader Warren Mundine. Can I start with you, Kevin? Have you looked at the Uluru Statement from the Heart? And as an educator, do you believe any child would be able to memorise that?
Well, there are two matters there, Steve. I mean, one is for many years now, teachers have been told not to use memorisation. They've been told not to get students to memorise their times tables or to memorise poetry. But now they're actually reversing that. And when it comes to the Uluru Statement, they're saying they should memorise it. They won't be able to. The second point here is that parents will be appalled that what is happening in schools, and it's been happening for over 30, 40 years now, is the classroom is being used to indoctrinate children, young children in primary and secondary school, with cultural left ideology. And that's appalling. I taught for 18 years, and teaching should be about balance, objectivity, being impartial, not indoctrinating students with your point of view.
And you and I have spoken about this, Kevin, before. I had two daughters who went through school not that long ago. And if any child in the later years of secondary school displays some conservative views about an issue, and there'd be no better issue than the voice, they either get shut down by the teacher or get shouted down by the other students. I mean, that's the reality of life in the classroom, isn't it?
It is, especially in Year 12, where I've spoken to many students, and I know people who tutor students at Year 12, and they warn them, the tutors do, just be careful that you repeat what the teacher wants. Now, it's got to that terrible stage where it's no longer about teaching what we used to call clear thinking or critical thinking. It's now more about teachers indoctrinating children. And it happens nearly every week of the year, whether it's Rainbow Day, whether it's NIDOC Day, whether it's telling students that they could go on strike, they can wag school and go on the climate strike day. It's been happening for many years. And I get back to the point that really what you want in such a controversial issue as the voice is it's such a significant change to our constitution and our way of life that you want balance, you want objectivity. That's the whole purpose that I taught, was to give young people the knowledge and skill to weigh arguments objectively.
Warren Mundine, Dan Andrews, the Victorian Premier today, says, don't worry about this. It's just going to be a discussion. There'll be nothing rammed down any student's throat. If you believe that, you're silly, because, Dan Andrews and the Labor government in Victoria, I can tell you, are trench warriors. They definitely will want to be pushing the yes case. And for you on the no side, you're not going to get into any classroom, I don't imagine.
Oh, it's definitely not, And why am I surprised that the People's Democratic Republic of Victoria run these indoctrination things to school kids? When I was a kid growing up, if a teacher brought their political viewpoints into the classroom, they were sacked. You had to do the maths, the science, the English, and do all the subjects and teach the kids about the subject and to teach the kids how to think. But this is just indoctrination. If you're going to talk about the voice, you've got to have two viewpoints. You've got to have the yes viewpoint and you've got to have the no viewpoint. If you're not doing that, then it is about indoctrination. And if you think about it, if they're doing that with the voice, what else are these kids being taught at school? It's no wonder the Australian education system has completely slid down the ladder of OECD nations in regard to education performance.